the channel. Some stories are just that, stories. Tales we tell around campfires, urban legends passed down through generations, or warnings wrapped in folklore. But what if, one night, you found yourself inside one of those stories? What if the thing you always thought was just a myth turned out to be real? It was supposed to be a quiet, late-night drive through the Appalachian Mountains. A familiar route, moonlit and peaceful, until everything changed. The trees seemed to close in. The air grew heavier. And then, I saw it. This wasn't a shadow. It wasn't an animal. It wasn't my imagination. It was a towering creature with glowing eyes and teeth made for tearing flesh, and it was watching me. What followed was a terrifying chase through twisting mountain roads, a desperate attempt to escape something that shouldn't exist, a monster straight out of legend. Was it a hallucination? A trick of the full moon? Or was it something darker, something ancient, that still stalks the forgotten corners of the world? Today, you're about to hear my story. Not a retelling, not a dramatization, but the truth, as I lived it. This is Full Moon, Full Terror, my encounter with a werewolf. And if you've ever doubted the stories about what lurks in the woods under the light of the full moon, you won't after this. It was a late October night, and I was driving back from visiting my family. They live in a small town about 3 hours away, nestled in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. Beautiful scenery, but seriously lacking in decent cell service and late-night pizza delivery. I'd stayed later than I intended, caught up in family gossip and helping my mom can tomatoes. By the time I finally hit the road, it was close to midnight. The highway was mostly empty, just the occasional truck roaring past, its headlights momentarily blinding. The full moon, a large silver disk in the inky sky, bathed the landscape in an eerie glow. It was the kind of moon that makes you feel like you're in a gothic novel, and in hindsight, it should have been my first clue that something was amiss. I love driving at night. There's something so peaceful and isolating about it, as if the world shrinks to just you and the road ahead. Usually, I crank up the music and sing along at the top of my lungs, but that night, I felt uneasy. Perhaps it was my grandma's stories about mountain witches and haunted hollers. Or maybe it was just the loneliness of the road, the way the trees seemed to crowd in on either side, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. I felt like I was being watched. That prickly feeling on the back of my neck tells you something isn't right. I kept checking my rearview mirror, but all I saw was the empty highway stretching out behind me. The atmosphere was definitely strange. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of damp leaves and something else, something musky and animalistic. I couldn't quite place it, but it made the hairs on my arms stand on end. The animal noises were unusual too. It wasn't the usual crickets chirping or owls hooting. I couldn't identify the sounds, low growls and snarls that seemed to come from deep within the woods. They were unsettling, primal sounds that echoed through the night. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was just coyotes or wild dogs. We definitely have those in the area. But something about the sounds, they were different. More guttural. More wrong. As I drove further into the mountains, the road got narrower and more winding. The trees closed in even tighter, blotting out the moonlight. It felt like I was driving through a tunnel of shadows. Then I saw it. Up ahead, in the middle of the road, something was standing. At first, I thought it was a deer. We get a lot of deer around here, and they're not exactly known for their road sense. But as I got closer, I realized it definitely wasn't a deer. It was too big. Too upright. My headlights caught it full in the face, and I gasped. It was a creature straight out of a horror movie. Towering over me, at least 7 feet tall, it stood on 2 legs, its massive frame covered in thick, matted fur. Its face was a grotesque parody of a human, with a snout-like nose, pointed ears, and eyes that glowed with an unholy yellow light. Its long, sharp teeth bared in a snarl that promised nothing but pain. A werewolf. It had to be. I slammed on the brakes, the tires screeching in protest as the car skidded to a halt. The creature didn't flinch. It just stood there, its eyes fixed on me, a low growl rumbling in its chest. I was frozen, paralyzed with fear. My mind raced, desperately searching for an explanation, a way out of this nightmare. But there was nothing. Just me, my car, and a monster from the depths of legend. The werewolf stepped forward, and I instinctively threw the car into reverse, slamming my foot on the accelerator. The car lurched backward, narrowly missing a tree as I struggled to keep it on the road. The creature roared, a sound that shook the foundations of my being. It began to run, its massive legs eating up the distance between us with terrifying speed. I glanced in the rearview mirror and saw it gaining on me. Its eyes burned with predatory hunger, and its teeth were still bared in that horrifying snarl. I knew I couldn't outrun it. The road was too narrow, too winding. My car was no match for a creature of that size and power. I had to do something, anything, to survive. I reached into the glove compartment, fumbling for my only weapon, a small can of pepper spray I usually carried for self-defense. It wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. I rolled down the window, and the cold night air hit my face like a slap. The werewolf was almost upon me, its shadow looming large over the car. I waited until the last possible second, then aimed the pepper spray and unleashed a stream of fiery liquid into its face. The creature shrieked, a high-pitched, agonizing sound that echoed through the woods. It stumbled backward, clawing at its eyes, momentarily blinded. This was my chance. I slammed the car into drive and floored it, the tires spinning as I accelerated away from the creature. I didn't dare look back. I just kept driving, faster and faster, my heart pounding in my chest like a drum. I drove like a madman, weaving through the winding mountain roads, ignoring the danger, desperate to put as much distance as possible between me and that thing. After what felt like an eternity, I finally reached the outskirts of the nearest town. I pulled into the first gas station I saw, my hands shaking so badly I could barely grip the steering wheel. I stumbled out of the car, gasping for breath, my legs weak and unsteady. The gas station attendant, a grizzled old man with a skeptical look on his face, watched me with amusement. "Rough night, huh?" he asked, his voice laced with sarcasm. I just stared at him, unable to speak, my mind still reeling from what I had just experienced. "You look like you've seen a ghost," he chuckled. "Or maybe a whole pack of M." I wanted to tell him, to explain what had happened, but the words caught in my throat. Who would believe me? I could barely believe it myself. Just fill it up, please," I managed to croak, pulling out my wallet with trembling hands. As he filled the tank, I looked back in the direction I had come from, half expecting to see the werewolf standing there, its eyes burning with vengeance. But there was nothing. Just the empty road, bathed in the eerie glow of the full moon. I paid for the gas and drove away, determined to put this night behind me. But I knew, deep down, that I would never forget what I had seen. That image of the creature, its eyes glowing with unholy light, would forever be burned into my memory. Back home, I went straight to my computer. I needed answers. I needed to know that I wasn't crazy. I spent hours researching werewolves, poring over ancient texts, folklore, and modern-day accounts. I learned about their origins, their weaknesses, and their connection to the full moon. The more I read, the more convinced I became that what I had seen was real. It wasn't just a figment of my imagination, a trick of the light, or a hallucination brought on by exhaustion. It was a werewolf. A creature of myth and legend, brought to life in the darkest corners of the Appalachian Mountains. But then I realized, I hadn't actually seen it die. The pepper spray had only stunned it momentarily. What if it was still out there? What if it was hunting me? The thought sent a shiver down my spine. I knew I couldn't just sit around and wait for it to come back. I had to do something, anything, to protect myself. I started preparing by reinforcing the locks on my doors and windows. I bought a hunting knife and a crossbow, learning to use both with deadly accuracy. I researched ways to kill a werewolf, learning about silver bullets, wolfsbane, and other historical methods. I knew it was a long shot, but I had to be ready to fight if the werewolf came back. Weeks turned into months, and I never saw the werewolf again, but I never forgot about it either. Every full moon, I'd feel a surge of anxiety, a primal fear that would grip me in its icy claws. I'd stay inside, barricaded behind locked doors and boarded up windows, listening to the sounds of the night, waiting for the creature to return. Some people might say that I'm crazy, that I let my imagination run wild. They might say that there's no such thing as werewolves, that it was all just a bad dream. But I know what I saw. I know what I experienced. I know there are things in the world we can't explain, things that defy logic and reason, things that lurk in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The full moon will always remind me of that night, the night I came face to face with a werewolf, the night that changed my life forever. Now, every time I drive on that highway, or any other road at night, I get nervous. I pay close attention to my surroundings, and I can't help but wonder if I'll ever see the beast again. I'm now armed to the teeth when I drive, just in case. And I watch the sky, always fearing the full moon. I used to think monsters weren't real, that werewolves belonged in horror movies and fairy tales, something to laugh about, not something to prepare for. But now, every full moon reminds me of what I saw on that road, the towering figure, the glowing eyes, the snarl that vibrated through my bones. I didn't imagine it, and it didn't just vanish with the sunrise. It left a mark, on my memory, on my nerves, on the way I live my life. People will tell you there's a logical explanation, that it must have been a bear, a shadow, maybe even a dream. But those people weren't there. They didn't feel that primal fear, the certainty that something out there wanted them dead. Maybe the world needs to believe in logic, in safety, in reason. But I believe in what I saw. And I know this, the legends we laugh at, they're rooted in something. Something real. Something still watching. So if you ever find yourself alone on a mountain road under a glowing full moon, don't brush off that feeling on the back of your neck. Don't ignore the silence in the trees. And for your own sake, don't stop the car. Good night. And don't let the werewolves bite. Hey, horror fans. If you enjoyed our chilling tale and want to keep the spine-tingling stories coming, don't forget to hit that like button. Your support keeps the darkness alive. Share this video with your friends, let's spread the fear together. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you never miss a hair-raising moment. Join our community of thrill seekers and prepare for more eerie adventures. Thanks for watching, and remember, stay scared.